Yo, what's good everyone? Happy Friday. Hope y'all have had a great week so far and got some good plans here for this weekend. Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite cash game plays for this Week 7 NFL DraftKings main slate, and like I always do, I'll go position by position, breaking down each player that's sticking out to me. But let's keep this intro short and sweet here today and dive right into my spreadsheet. And like we always do, we're going to kick things off here in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. And we got just one of these games coming in with an implied total of 50 plus points between the Seahawks and Chargers, but definitely a handful of games here that have some high scoring potential. And then I got the highest implied team totals listed behind me there. I can promise you the Chargers are not implied to score 37.5 points. You can take a look at that there and use it as a reference point as I'm going through some of my favorite cash game plays. With that being said, let's kick things off here with the quarterbacks, and for the first time all year, I don't have one of Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts on my cash game spreadsheet, and while that's because both of them have a bye here in Week 7, otherwise they likely would be here. So we gotta get a little different this week, and so I went with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow as my two favorite cash game quarterbacks, and then I got two guys there in the 5K range listed as honorable mentions. Now, if I had to just pick one of these guys, obviously I'm going with Lamar Jackson, but I don't mind the $1,100 in price savings we get there with Joe Burrow. I'll touch on him here in just a minute. Let's highlight Lamar Jackson first. Through 6 weeks, we've pretty much seen his floor, which is 15 DraftKings points, and seen his ceiling, which is 50 DraftKings points. Now, I would like him to be a little more consistent on a weekly basis. That's what we've gotten out of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, but Lamar can definitely get us there. Even at this price of $8,000, I'm always shooting for 3x value in my cash lineup. That's 24 DraftKings points. He by all means can get us there, especially in a matchup like this. Not only is it a divisional rival game against the Cleveland Browns that they're playing at home, this Cleveland Browns defense does not scare me. They rank 27th overall in pass DVOA and 30th overall in rush DVOA, so Lamar should have his way with this defense. Now, if we do want to save that $1,100 here with Joe Burrow, I love the matchup for him here against the Atlanta Falcons, who rank 29th overall in total defensive DVOA, and he's just improved with each ensuing week. Started the season slow in those first 2 games, maybe a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover there, but has just gotten better since that Week 3 matchup against the New York Jets. In his last 4 games, he's now thrown for 9 touchdowns and actually has 2 rushing touchdowns as well. I'm not banking on any rushing upside out of Joe Burrow going forward, but hey, nice to see him getting some fantasy points while running the ball, and he scored 18 plus DraftKings points in each one of those games as well. At $6,900 here, we need about 21 DraftKings points, but I think he can definitely get there against this Atlanta defense. Now, if I want to save money off of Joe Burrow here, there's 2 guys in the 5K range that I think are playable. I probably won't go there, to be honest, unless I really want to pay up at the running back and wide receiver positions. Derek Carr against the Houston Texans, good matchup there, don't mind it. Jimmy G is really interesting. Now, this is a game against the Kansas City Chiefs that definitely has shootout potential, and if they're playing from behind, Jimmy G is going to have to throw the ball more than San Francisco probably wants him to. What's interesting, though, is the Christian McCaffrey news. Is he going to play this Sunday? If so, I like Jimmy G even better. Can throw those little dump-offs to CMC. We know he can break a long touchdown. So $5,500 here, we need what, 16.5 DraftKings points? Yeah, I think he can get there against this Chiefs defense that has not been very good against the pass this year, ranking 28th overall in pass DVOA. Now moving over here to the running backs, and the running back position is pretty straightforward for me this week. I got 3 guys that I really like here with 2 honorable mentions, and those honorable mentions with Barkley and Fournette, I'm probably having to swap out Eckler in order to put one of those guys in my lineup. Now, if you can somehow get Eckler, Barkley, and Fournette in your cash lineup and make that work, yeah, by all means, I would be cool with that. But Eckler is my favorite top-tier running back on this slate. He's seeing a 21% target share, which is just ridiculous for a running back. He saw 16 targets last week, which is not sustainable, but this is a guy who gets legit volume week in and week out, not only running the ball, but obviously in the passing game too. He's also scored 6 touchdowns now in his past 3 games. Again, likely unsustainable, but good to see him finding the end zone at such a high rate. And he's got a great matchup here against this Seattle defense, which I know they kind of shut down down Arizona last week, but prior to that, were not able to stop anything. Next guy I got there then is Josh Jacobs, and since week 4, Jacobs has been a beast, albeit a small sample size in just 2 games. In those games, he's averaging 29.5 touches and 184 total yards per game. Not total in both games, averaging 184 yards per game. That is absolutely ridiculous, playing on 81% of the offensive snaps, and he has a great matchup here to expand on that versus the Houston Texans, who ranked 29th overall in rush DVOA. And then I'll be going back to Kenneth Walker here of the Seattle Seahawks this week, who looked pretty damn good in his first NFL start. I know he played in weeks prior to that, but it was still Rashad Penny who was RB1 in that offense. Walker took over that role last week, being that Penny is on the IR, and he did get a $400 price increase from last week, but $5,800 is still very, very reasonable, especially in a matchup like this here against the LA Chargers, whose defense is banged up right now, ranking 22nd overall in rush DVOA. Last week we saw Walker have 21 rushing attempts and get 3 targets in that game. If you're going to be giving him 20 plus opportunities week in and week out, I'll by all means take him in the 5K range. Now folks, before we dive into the wide receivers here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I know we're 7 weeks into the NFL season already, but still a long way to go this season, and I'm going to have content coming out for you guys for the remainder of the year. Alright, now let's dive into these wide receivers here, and there are a handful of guys that I wouldn't mind paying up for, but I kind of like this 6K range in particular, and Amon-Ra St. Brown here at $7,100. Now, in the first 3 weeks before he got injured, was seeing a massive target share of 28%, drawing as wide receiver number 6 in the NFL. And while the Cowboys' defense has been very good this year, he should line up in the slot for the most part this week, around 66% of the time, where he's going to see Jordan Lewis, the slot cornerback for the Cowboys, who has been by far the worst cornerback on their team, allowing an 84% catch rate and a passer rating of 113. Needless to say, that is not very good, and Amon-Ra St. Brown should win that matchup more times than not. And then on the other side of that game, I like CeeDee Lamb as well, and there is the lingering question of, well, is he going to see a 33% target share with Dak Prescott like he did with Cooper Rush? I don't know why he wouldn't, and maybe not 33%, but upper 20%? Yeah, that's what he should be seeing. Bear with me here, I have an ambulance or a fire truck going by, so I have to pause here for a quick second. Alright folks, we're back here, and again, I don't know why CD wouldn't see at least a 20% target share in this game. I guess the cause for concern is, well, how much is Dak going to throw the ball after returning from thumb surgery? But at the same time, why would you rush him back if he can't throw the ball 40 plus times? So I do like CD here. I love the matchup against this Detroit defense, especially if it does turn into a high-scoring game, because this defense for Detroit cannot stop anything and rank dead last in pass DVOA. I then got Allen Lazard there of the Green Bay Packers, who's in a really good matchup this week against the Washington Commanders. I think this could be the week where Aaron Rodgers kind of has himself a nice day. I'll probably talk about him on my GPP plays video tomorrow. I've yet to build that spreadsheet, so no guarantees. But again, I do love the matchup here against this Commanders secondary, who have not been very good this year, ranking 27th overall against wide receivers. Lazard's seen around a 20% target share in this offense, but 37% of the team's air yards, and that's really one area the Commanders have struggled, stopping the deep ball. So Lazard could have himself a big day here, and he's also scored a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games, so Aaron Rodgers is definitely looking for him in the red zone. And then a cheaper wide receiver that I like this week in the 4K range is Alec Pierce of the Indianapolis Colts, who's just steadily getting more involved in this offense week in and week out. The rookie wide receiver has looked very good here over the past 3 weeks, where he's seen 6, 7, and 9 targets, turning that into 12, 14, and 16 DraftKings points. That's meeting 3x value at this current price here of $4,600, and no reason to think he can't do that against this Tennessee Titans defense, who rank 29th overall in pass DVOA and do not have a very good secondary. We then got the tight ends here, and I'm just going to spend down at the tight end position this week, especially since I like that 6K range for wide receivers. I want to spend up for one expensive running back, and want to try to get to Lamar Jackson if possible as well. So there's a handful handful of guys here. I got 6 different tight ends listed that I think are viable at the tight end position. And I could go through each one of these guys individually here, but essentially we're kind of punting when we pay down for these guys. The one that has the best matchup here is Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Chargers against the Seattle Seahawks, who have allowed a massive 24 DraftKings points per game to opposing tight ends this year. We need half of that. We need 12 DraftKings points from Everett in order to meet 3x value, and the Seahawks are allowing double. So yeah, he's by far got the best matchup here against the Seattle Seahawks, but honestly, I'd be fine rostering any one of these guys in the 2 to 3-4K range. And the one guy that I think is a little interesting here is Dalton Schultz. Has not been very good ever since Dak Prescott got hurt. He's $3,600 here, and this is a guy that floated in the low 5K range towards the end of last year, based off of the chemistry and upside he was showing with Dak Prescott. So this week, Schultz might be more of a GPP play for me, but again, at $3,600, I think he's viable in cash as well. And then I'm just going to keep it simple here with the defense this week as well. The New York Jets stick out to me here as a low-priced option at $2,600, as defense just seems to be getting better each and every week. Went into Lambeau Field last week and beat the Green Bay Packers on their home turf. That says something. I know the Green Bay Packers have not kind of lived up to par compared to last season's, but man, to beat Aaron Rodgers on his own home turf, that says something. Like I said, this Jets defense just gets better every week, and now have racked up 10 turnovers and 14 sacks through 6 games. Now, playing the Denver Broncos here on their home turf this week, and we all know that that Broncos offense has struggled majorly this season. And as always, going to wrap up the spreadsheet here with a low-priced option or sub-4K wide receiver play. And honestly, just like last week, I don't think we need to go here. There's a lot of value on this slate once again with guys like Kenneth Walker, Alec Pierce. You can punt at the tight end and defensive positions to where we don't need to punt at the wide receiver position. There's actually one other guy I want to mention here, and that's Paris Campbell of the Indianapolis Colts. I just talked about Alec Pierce and how good of a matchup they have here against this bad Tennessee Titans secondary. And Campbell did have 11 targets last week, 7 catches, and turned that into 19 DraftKings points. So yeah, I think he's viable as well. I don't love it, but viable. And then Sammy Watkins here at $3,000. Now for starters, do keep an eye on his injury status. He has practice all week long, but returning from a hamstring injury. We did get word today that he's going to be a game time decision. I believe he's going to play here because, well, Randall Cobb and Christian Watson are also both out for the Green Bay Packers this week. They still have Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs, but Sammy Watkins here is the dirt cheap price of $3,000 for a wide receiver. If he's going to be on the field, I don't mind it. Again, especially in this matchup here against the Washington Commanders, who have not been very good against opposing wide receivers, allowing damn near 42 DraftKings points per game, the 6th most in the NFL. So again, I don't feel the need to punt at the wide receiver position, but Campbell of the Indianapolis Colts at $3,900 doesn't look horrible, and then Watkins here is the dirt minimum price of $3,000. If he's on the field playing with Aaron Rodgers in a good matchup, yeah, I think it's viable. All right, everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this main slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.